Mason Durrell didn't knock, he poured. She stepped back, and the camera didn't blink. His badge was history, but the law on that paper, still active. And the pool, never hers to begin with. He wore the same shirt he used to write citations in. Faded blue, still tucked, still clean at the collar. Mason didn't walk fast. He placed his steps, like every board on that deck still answered to him. He didn't look at her, didn't look at the phone, didn't look at the red light blinking on the HOA camera. His eyes scanned the pool edge, then the water line, then paused at the northeast corner. That tile always needed resealing. Retired didn't mean forgotten. It meant he watched more, spoke less, prepared longer. Most folks thought he just walked. They never noticed his right boot always pressed twice at the last step. That was where he once found a needle. He never told anyone, just fixed it. Quiet. The only thing louder than his silence was how precise it looked. Even when pouring pool sanitizer, a kid on a bike slowed down, watched, didn't smile, didn't leave. Maybe he knew. Mason folded the paper once, creased the edge with his thumb, didn't say a word, just let the label face the camera. Effective. March 22nd. The water smelled like bleach and rust, but to Mason, it still smelled like August. He remembered the sound of laughter, little feet slapping the deck, the girl who couldn't float until week 3, the boy who panicked, swallowed water. He jumped in that day, didn't even take off his boots. That stain on the edge, still there. Brick chipped, his elbow hit first when he pulled the kid out. No one saw that part, they only saw the rescue. He never asked to teach, just saw too many empty yards, too many kids with nothing but sunburn and time. So, he filled the silence, with schedules, with filtered water, with lessons about why diving headfirst gets you killed. This wasn't just his pool, it was the first place some of them learned to breathe, to follow rules, to share space. Not a playground, not a spa, a responsibility. The water shifted under the chemical. Tiny bubbles spread like veins. He watched it disperse, slow, honest, legal. The woman's phone was still up, still recording, still pretending like she hadn't swum here Tuesday and Friday. Mason blinked once, let the paper relax in his hand. He thought of the sign he painted himself. Before the HOA even formed, no entry without permission, safety first. They'd replaced it, but he still saw the outline beneath the new one. He didn't flinch, didn't rush, didn't need to, because this wasn't revenge, it was maintenance. And the longer she stood there, the more the crowd behind the fence stopped whispering. Mason pressed the paper flat against the bottle, held it there, just long enough for the red stamp to catch the light. Some stories don't need shouting to make people stop. Maybe you've stood in silence too, knowing you were right, but waiting. If this reminds you of a moment you lived through, we'd like to hear it. He noticed it the second morning. The latch on the pool gate was reset, not broken, not forced, just reset. Like someone had the key. Mason didn't say a word. He walked the perimeter, bent down by the bricks, one footprint, fresh, still damp on the cement. Not his, too small, too careless. That night, a folded paper appeared in his mailbox. No stamp, no envelope, just 4 words, printed in bold. Community use encouraged, HOA. He didn't flinch, but something in him paused. It wasn't about swimming anymore. It was about territory. He recalled the HOA meeting last month, that odd moment when everyone went quiet, right after he declined to donate the space for summer events. He remembered how someone said, well, if it's for everyone, why not make it official? He thought it was a joke. Maybe it wasn't. The third day the music came. 2 women, 1 cooler, 3 plastic cups. She unlocked the gate like it was hers. Mason watched from the shed, didn't move, didn't breathe. Then, laughter, loud, careless, as if it had always been theirs. He stepped back into the house, opened his filing drawer, pulled out the original land use document. Still smelled of ink. Still had his father's initials in the margin. Still said, private utility zone. No shared access permitted. He laid it on the table, looked at the empty pool through the blinds, and for the first time in months, his hand closed into a fist. Mason didn't call anyone, didn't raise his voice. He just changed shirts, faded gray. Retired deputy stitched above the pocket, not to intimidate, just to remind. He walked out with the white bottle, one hand holding it steady, the other gripping a folded page, the same permit, signed by the HOA president, stamped, effective March 22nd. She was already there. Blue towel, louder than usual, phone raised like a weapon. "This man is trespassing." Her voice cracked. She smiled for the stream, didn't notice the red camera light behind her blinking. Mason said nothing. He reached the edge, twisted the cap, poured exactly 1.6 ounces of sanitizer into the deep end. Slow, legal, 1 pour per regulation. Her voice dropped. "Wait, what are you doing?" She turned to the sign. Eyes scanned the date. He lifted the paper, held it just above the bottle. Effective March 22nd. The words met the lens. From behind the fence, a voice muttered, "That's Cheryl's signature." The crowd didn't gasp, they just shifted. Phones lowered, one by one. The woman stepped back, still holding her phone, but now at her side. Mason didn't look at her. He stepped back from the edge, capped the bottle, wiped the top once, then glanced, not at her, but at the red blinking camera, the one she had installed, the one recording everything, the one he had quietly wired to back up to his cloud. No smile, no gloating, just a look that said, "You filmed the wrong day to prove the wrong thing." The clip was already up, on the HOA group, 32 members, all watched, no caption, just footage. Mason at the pool, silent, precise. A comment appeared under it, just one, from Cheryl. Effective March 22nd. That was all it took. The crowd that once cheered her now scrolled quietly. No defense, no distraction. Mason walked past her. Didn't look, didn't flinch. Just placed the document on the HOA bulletin board. It stuck clean, pinned to cork. The red stamp faced out. The date caught the sun. Behind him, a voice. "So, it was legal?" Another one. She recorded herself violating it. No laughter, no outrage, just air getting heavier. The woman's hand dropped, phone still warm from the stream. She looked at it like it betrayed her. Mason kept walking, past the chairs, past the cooler she left out, past the blue towel with her initials. He paused at the fence, looked once at the camera, its red light still blinking, still uploading, then turned, faced her. Only now, she stood still, one step back, no words, no smirk, just wide eyes. Because for the first time, she saw what the camera really caught. Not a man breaking rules, but a woman caught enforcing the wrong ones. Mason didn't point, didn't speak. He just nodded once, not at her, but at the fence, as if to say, this is where it ends, and she understood. Because the silence around them wasn't empty. It was final. The pool rippled, not from people, but from wind. A dry leaf touched the surface, floated, then sank. Mason placed the paper on the bench, didn't fold it, didn't pin it, just left it there, the stamp in red. Effective March 22nd, visible, enough. He walked past the lounge chair, past the towel, past the plastic cup tipped over, didn't look back, inside the flower mailbox. He dropped a second envelope, unsealed. It held nothing but a copy of the page and a short note. For records. Then he slipped behind the fence gate, where no one saw, where no one followed. The grass there grew uneven, but he knew each patch. That's where he planted the tree. The year his boy turned 5, that's where the dog used to bark, until he didn't. Mason picked up his rod, clicked the latch open, clipped a new lure, cast it gently, past the reeds. He didn't expect fish, he just sat. Let the line drift, let his back rest. Behind him, no yelling, no more music, only the sound of leaves brushing vinyl siding. No one dared touch the rope again. No one asked who owned the water. The board stayed up. The red stamp faded, but the date stayed visible. And people knew. Not because he shouted, Not because he threatened, but because that's what happens when a quiet man moves precisely. He never said her name again, didn't need to. No one did, and the camera kept blinking, until one day, it didn't. But by then, the rule had already sunk in. Some pools are kept clean, not by filters, but by the people who never left. Not every war ends with a verdict. Some just quiet down, like wind after harvest, like a gate that stops creaking, not because it's oiled, but because no one pushes it anymore. Mason didn't build fences. He built memory. Every stone in that pool, placed by hand, every rule, learned the hard way. People forget how long it takes to make something feel right, but it only takes noise to unmake it. He never asked for credit, never asked to be listened to, only hoped someone would remember how clean water feels. His father once said, "A real man doesn't raise his voice, he raises the standard." Now the paper fades, the camera rusts, but the space remains clear, not because of signs, not because of law, but because someone stood still, long enough for others to realize. Some places aren't owned, they're kept, and kept things have keepers. So if one day the ropes return and noise fills the water again, someone will remember, someone will stand, because silence, once it wins, doesn't vanish, it settles.